First Baptist Church would like to thank you for 40 years of service. In these past 40 years, you have blessed us with so many opportunities as well as special moments. Our church has grown from 700 to an average Sunday school attendance of over 21,000. The big days, conferences, and special events have given us wonderful blessings as well as memories we will always cherish. For 40 years you have given to us. Now it's our turn to show you our appreciation and thanks. 3 billboards congratulating you and Mrs. Hyles will be put up this week on the following locations: Route 41 on Main Street in Highland, Route 30 in Klein Avenue in Cherville, and 41st Street and Holman in Hammond. We have also planned an exciting event in your honor. On Friday, September 24th, you and Mrs. Hyles will be picked up at your home in a limousine. You will be taken to Chicago for a shopping spree. Afterwards, you will be taken to the beautiful Sheraton Chicago Hotel and Towers in downtown Chicago, where the presidential suite has been reserved for your night's stay. At 7 p.m. that evening, a gigantic banquet will be held in your honor in the grand ballroom of the Sheraton. Your friends from around the country have been invited to join us in celebrating your 40 years with us. We just want to thank you. We just want you to know that we love you both. And are proud to have you as our pastor and First Lady.
Thank you. Tonight, instead of the unleavened bread, we're passing out balloons for the Lord's Supper. I don't know how in the world we're going to make any order out of this chaos here. But custodians, you can come now and begin to clean the building, please. And I'll say a few words in my sermon like I did this morning. It's a little hard for, I guess, a layperson to understand exactly what this means to a preacher and his wife. It's just not everybody that gets to stay with the same people for 40 years. And I have no way. You know, this is wonderful, but you've been showing us your love for all these years. And over and over again through the years. It's not every week you've been showing it to us. I can't believe how many hours are spent on all these banners. I can't believe it. And some of the cutest things. No lying. We love you over 40 years. The jail ministry, world's greatest preacher, bar none. You know. And what's this up here? Family 7? What does that mean? And all these giant, huge signs. I wish I knew how to say thank you for your all these many wonderful years of expressions of love. No preacher has ever enjoyed 40 years as much as I've enjoyed it. I was trying to think this afternoon of all the preachers of great churches. I'm talking about big churches. The super churches, attendance-wise, that have been there 40 years. And there's just a handful. And that's not because of me, that's because of you. I don't know how to say thank you, but I love you. You know that. I said that this morning. And this is amazing. I had no idea of anything like this. This is so... what a mess this is. But it's thank God we have Brother Moffitt, because he's the only one who has enough hot air to blow these balloons up. But you want to say a word?
I don't know what to say. I came determined I wasn't going to get my tear ducts open again tonight like they were this morning. But you are precious people. Messy, but precious. Like Brother Hyles said, I can't imagine all the hours that went into all of these signs and all that you've done. Just the blowing up of the balloons, but everything. It's such a wonderful and delightful surprise, and truly it is a surprise, was a surprise. We do love you people. You are our family. After 40 years, we are truly Hoosiers. We love it here. We love you. Thank you for all that you've done for us. You make life easier when the hard times come. I was thinking this has been kind of a hard year. I turned 70, and the Bible says we're given 70, so I've reached mine. Then we lost our little grandson in March, and then at the same time I found Brother Hyles' health was not as good as I had thought it was, and it's been sort of traumatic, but you have cushioned the blow. You are such dear and precious Christian. There's no greater Christians in the world than the people gathered in this room. I'm convinced of that. And I think that's what draws people to our church, the wonderful love and Christianity that you manifest. Thank you so much.
Now I told you. Thank you. I got a kick out of the deaf people down here playing drums a while ago. That was funny. I walked in a while ago to the choir ready room. There was Mrs. Hyles, and I said, "What's going on here?" And she said, "I'm preaching that sermon you told them about tonight, and so the pulpit is yours." And I love you. I just don't know there's just not a greater people anywhere in the world. And I'm looking at people tonight whose loyalty has influenced the entire nation. I'm looking at people tonight who have built a work here that has caused our country to be influenced and all over the world. I wish you knew how much the country of Mexico has been influenced by this work, and how much the Philippine Islands have been influenced by this work, and nations all over the world. And it couldn't have been possible if we hadn't stayed together. I recall years ago when I was a young preacher, I heard a preacher preach, and he said, I've been 20 years at the same church, and I thought, now wouldn't that be wonderful to be able to stay at the same church for 20 years? And by the way, somebody gave me a tape tonight of the sermon I preached on our 20th anniversary here, and I'm looking forward to hearing it. And to think we've been able to stay here 40 long years. Thank you for the loyalty and for your trust. That's the most important thing. The thing that God wants more than anything else is our trust. It says without faith it is impossible to please Him. And I guess the thing that I am more grateful for than anything else is that picture across the street over there. No, but your trust. But I was afraid Ms. Hyles to see it. How women are. Every time she sees a picture of herself, I look all washed out. The other day I said, that's because you're always all washed out. But she looked at it and she said, that is something, isn't it? And it is. But the thing that I appreciate more than anything else is your trust and your confidence. And we've loved you for these years. And as I said this morning, God bless you. Now, what are we supposed to do now? All right. Thank you. Be seated, please. Thank you.
All right. First of all, let me once again say thank you to everyone for attending. I realize many of you have sacrificed to come tonight. Many have come from long distances to be here, and we're so thankful that you did. Of course, this evening is to honor Dr. and Mrs. Jack Hyles. This is their night. They deserve it. It's long overdue. And so the entire evening will be dedicated to them. So in doing so, we'd like to ask them, if they would, to come to the front, and we'll escort them up here so they can sit up on the love seat. Thank you. You may be seated. 40 years ago, this young couple came to Hammond, Indiana, and took a church that was heavily involved in the American Baptist Convention, and not quite exactly what we have now, but it was a good church full of great people. Brother Hyles became our pastor. He came to Hammond just a week after I was born. And we have had the opportunity to, most all of us, I guess, now to have had at least a portion of our lives, and some of us, all of our lives, as part of his ministry, and he a part of ours. And so we're so thankful tonight that we take this opportunity to thank him and thank Mrs. Hyles for being two of the finest Christians this generation's ever known. Two of our young people that are now up in years, and not really, but Brother Dave Biter and his wife Tina. Dave grew up in First Baptist Church and ran around with myself, and still a lot of stories that have yet to be graduated. While at Hyles-Anderson, found Tina there. She came from Escondido, California, and we've had a couple songs written for this special occasion, one of which Dave and Tina are going to sing for us tonight.
You've been such faithful friends through the years. You've been our strength through all of our tears. You've been the ones on whom we could depend. We thank you for the faithful friend you've been. By giving us your time, you've touched so many lives. You gave your love, you sacrificed.
You taught us how to live, you've done your part. You gave to us your heart.
You've been such faithful friends through the years. You've been our strength through all of our tears. You've been the ones on whom we could depend. We thank you for the faithful friend you've been. tears. You've been the ones on whom we could depend. We thank you for the faithful friend you've been. We thank you for the faithful friends you've been.
So many of you have come from all different places to be here and be a part of this evening, and we'd like to introduce some special guests to you tonight. The assistant pastors at First Baptist Church who worked on staff with Brother Hyles, many of them, of course many of us are still here, but there are several of those assistant pastors who moved away, and we've asked many of them to come back, and if we could, I'd like to introduce them to you. Tonight we have Brother John Hippard. Is Brother Hippard here? He is here, I know, but I'm not sure exactly where he's seated. If you would stand, please. Brother Hippard? Is he here? All right. He must not be here then. All right. Brother Hippard was the first assistant pastor that Brother Hyles had. In fact, he was here when Brother Hyles came. And he and his wife were going to try to be here tonight, but I'm sorry they could not make it. Dr. Cal Streeter. I know Dr. Cal Streeter's here. If you would just stand, Brother Cal Streeter. And thank you, Brother Cal. And served as an assistant pastor. And Brother Lindsay Terry. Brother Terry, right up front here, and his wife. Brother Terry led the singing and also the choir and did just a tremendous job, and we're so glad he came. And then Brother Wally Beebe, also sitting over here, and his wife, if they would stand. Dr. Beebe came and took our bus ministry and did such a wonderful job with that and worked in that area. Brother Elmer Fernandez, Brother Elmer, over here on my far right. And Brother Elmer, he had to do a lot of schedule changes to be here, and I'm so glad that he did, and thank him for coming. Brother Elmer, he, after the Spanish ministry in our church had been started, he took it and just absolutely got it off the ground and got it rolling and has done a tremendous job. Is traveling all over the world, literally, working with the Spanish-speaking people, and we're glad that he's here. We have also Brother Jim Wirtz is here, and Brother Jim. There he is over here. Stay up there, stay up. Brother Jim Wirtz, many of you may not know this, worked in the youth department with us and started our Bible club ministry. He's the one that got it off the ground many years ago, and now it's gone on to be a great, great ministry. A lot of souls have been saved, and it's because this man started it many years ago, and we thank him for coming tonight. Your wife is here also? All right, Roberta, would you stand as well? I'm sorry. And let's give them both a hand. And Brother Larry Bullard. And I saw Brother Larry sitting over here, I believe. Am I right? Where are you at? Oh, over here. There you go. Larry and his wife Renee. And Larry also, after Brother Moffitt destroyed the sailor ministry, Brother Bullard picked up the pieces and he got our sailor ministry off the ground and did a wonderful job with that as well. And Brother Dave Hyles down front here and his wife Brenda. Thank you. Of course, worked in the youth ministry as well. And we have one other guest that worked at Hyles-Anderson College in the early years, and I'm so pleased that he came and is with us tonight. Brother Max Helton. Where is he? Right over here. Brother Helton. Thank you for coming as well. And these men did a great job and helped us to get a lot of the programs that we run and operate today. They got them started and got them off the ground, and we appreciate their work. But we also appreciate the assistant pastors who serve now with myself as well as with Brother Hyles. And I'd like to introduce them to you. Brother Colston down front here, serving the longest, 35 years. And Brother Keith McKinney is right over here on my right. And Brother Roy Moffitt over here on my left. Brother Bill Shutt is in charge of our deaf ministry. Brother Bill. Way over here on my left. Way over here. Brother Ray Young works with our bus ministry. Brother Ray, thank you. Brother Jeff Owens. And over here on my left. All right, way over here. Great. And Brother Craig Bush. He's right over here. Stand up, Brother Craig. They didn't get to see you. All right? Great. And these fellows, we now serve on the church staff with Brother Hyles. And a man said to me the other day, who had worked with our ministries before, and I was speaking for him, and he put his finger in my face, and he said, Eddie, I'm going to give you one piece of advice. He said, don't you ever take for granted working for Dr. Jack Hyles. And I do not take that for granted. Well, I don't work for him, but I get paid. But actually, he's a tremendous boss and a great man to work for, and I count every day an honor, and I do speak on behalf of all these men and all the men that stood a few moments ago who are now serving in other parts of the country and the world. We count it an honor to have served under the leadership of Dr. Jack Hyles, and we appreciate that. And let's give all these men that have come tonight a round of applause. If you're a pastor or an assistant pastor and you are not a member of First Baptist Church, but you traveled to be here for tonight, would you stand? Or a pastor or assistant pastor or in full-time Christian work, would you please stand also? There we go, several. In fact, quite a few. We thank you, men, for coming. And I realize it took a lot of effort and sacrifice on your part to be here, and again, we are honored with your presence. Then there's a special group tonight that I'd like to welcome and thank those who were here 40 years ago when Brother Hyles came. If you are a member of First Baptist Church 40 years ago, would you please stand? A lot of them, most of them are down front here. Please remain standing if you would. Remain standing. These are the folks that stood for Brother Hyles and made it possible for us to have him as our pastor. They called him. They voted him in. They voted to keep him in. And these are the ones that have stood by Brother Hyles through these past 40 years. And we appreciate you. Those of us that came on after Brother Hyles came, we thank you. We owe you a tremendous debt, and you're very special to us. And we don't take your presence tonight at this banquet, nor in our church services and on our deacon board and in administration in the church and so forth. We don't take that lightly, and we owe you more than we can possibly imagine. We thank you for coming tonight and for being here all these years. Let's give them a round of applause. There's a lady who's here tonight. I'm going to ask her to come to the platform. I did not tell her that I was going to do this, so she's going to be a little bit embarrassed. Mrs. Betty Holly. Mrs. Holly, would you please? She should be right over here. And Brother Highfill, if you would give me a hand, or Brother Pollard, if you'd give us a hand. Where are you at? The guys are sleeping on the job. There they are. No, they're. Did not tell them I was going to do this. There you go. Mrs. Holly was Brother Hyles' first secretary. So we're going to find out some stuff on Brother Hyles here.
I've been waiting 40 years for this.
Uh-oh. So, the rest of the night is yours. I don't think you have enough.
I just wish I'd known I was going to be speaking, because I could have sure gotten some information and remembered it.
We'll give you a few minutes to collect your thoughts if it would help.
When you get old, it's hard to remember yesterday, much less 40 years ago. You're probably safe.
I don't think so. Wait till I get done. But no, Mrs. Holly found out about the banquet through a series of events that are pretty miraculous, and it was, of course, of the hand of the Lord. She was his first secretary. Brother Hyles hired her, and shortly after, how long after he was here had he hired you? You need to speak right up there. There you go.
Well, when did you come? September of August. Sometime after that, I don't think I was here for his initial sermon, but I had to go home. Mama said, "Come home." She doesn't care who's coming to preach that Sunday. But I was a faithful member, and I came every Sunday that I wasn't going to visit Mama in Kentucky. So
he hired you to work for him, and then
well, he had someone call me from the office, and I told him I couldn't come to work because I had a job. I'd just taken a new job, and then some lady called me again, and I told her I couldn't, and so he called me the third time himself. And I said, when God calls, you got to go.
He was preaching some pretty tough sermons back then, wasn't he?
Yeah, and he said the reason he hired me because I sat close to the front and listened real well. So,
what did the people think of his sermons when he was pastoring those early days?
Well, a lot of the people thought they were great. I thought they were great. There was people that didn't approve. I guess they didn't like to get preached at too hard on Sunday morning, because he preached pretty hard about going out and drinking and carousing around on Saturday night. And then trying to teach Sunday school on Sunday morning. So
it's hard to believe some people didn't like that. And
no, they didn't like that.
But she told us an interesting story that I wanted to share with you, that I'm not sure, Brother Hyles, if you know this, but she of course was your secretary, and the night of the vote, where you were going to be voted in or out, and that was on July 4th, Independence Day of all things, and the membership secretary was not for Brother Hyles, correct?
That's correct, and neither was the other secretary.
All right.
We had 2 against 1.
2 against 1. Well, this one, the membership secretary had taken the membership records and hid them, thinking that Brother Hyles might want to call some of the membership and help rally the vote. But Betty here got in that office and got those membership records, and her and some of her friends called Brother Hyles converts. How many converts? Do you have any idea?
I don't know, but there was enough that when they all showed up on Wednesday night for the vote, we overwhelmingly won the vote.
So it was, Brother Hyles is here today, not because God wanted him, but because you were sneaky, right? No, she told us that. I'd never heard that story, and
there was a lot of people involved in that that were. I can't even remember whose idea it was. I certainly don't take the credit for all of that, but I was in a position to be able to help.
Yeah, you want to take the fifth here, don't you? And you were guilty, and you know it, but we're thankful for it. We appreciate it, and that right there, we have no idea what that decision of this dear lady to help call Brother Hyles converts. And she said there were a lot of converts that he'd won to Christ himself, and they came and helped sway the vote. Let's give her a round of applause. We thank you. Thank you. As a young man, I said, just telling Brother Dexter Graves a few months back, that in his junior boys choir, he used to give out little medals and things, and if you behaved and everything. And I never got one. I was always hurt, and I knew it was a political thing. And Alan Dukes and Rex Terry used to get all those little medals and the little awards. And I'm still bitter, but as a little guy, I remember hearing Brother Terry and his wife sing in church, and I can remember the Christmas song, "Do You Hear What I Hear?" They would both sing, and boy, it just stuck with me all these years, and still one of my favorite songs. And I've asked Brother Terry and his wife to come sing for us tonight. And most of you have never heard them, and we're going to be blessed if you would. Now, this man and his wife, they can sing, but it's only fair to say that I asked him just a few minutes before the banquet. So he has written an awful lot of books and music and things, stories behind the hymns, and how I remember the days when he led our music and he and his wife would sing in church. And this was one of their songs that they would sing so often. It was kind of their theme song around First Baptist Church.
Eddie, if you'll forgive me, we changed just a little bit. Forgive me. Okay, all right. Well, it's wonderful to be here. Let's go over to this one, Marilyn, if you would, please. Okay, just before the banquet tonight, we got with Elaine, and she doesn't have the music. We don't have the music, but we have a note or two up here. And we're going to sing a song that means a lot to us. Let me say, first of all, Brother Ms. Hyles, thank you so much for all your ministry has meant to Marilyn and me and our family, and the encouragement that you've been to us down through the years, and the wonderful times that we had while we were here. It was just great. We'll never forget it. Thank you so much. And congratulations and happy birthday tomorrow. Okay, one thing that you taught me, Brother Hyles. Were you going to say something? No, you weren't. Okay. One thing that I remember that you taught me is that sometimes we're guilty in leaving the Holy Spirit out of our praying and out of our recognition. And so let Marilyn and me sing a song for you tonight called "Greater is He That Is in Me Than He That Is in the World." Greater is He that is in me, greater is He that is in me, greater is He that is in me than he that is in the world. Satan's like a roaring lion, roaming to and fro, seeking whom he may devour. The Bible tells me so. Many souls have been his prey, to fall in some weak hour. But God has promised us today his overcoming power. Greater is He that is in me, greater is He that is in me, greater is He that is in me than he that is in the world.
On the day of Pentecost, a rushing mighty wind blew into the upper room and baptized all of them
with a power greater than any earthly foe. And I'm so glad I've got him too. I'm gonna let the whole world know. Greater is He that is in me, greater is He that is in me, greater is He that is in me than he that is in the world. Greater is He that is in me than he that is in the world.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And tremendous people. I'm so honored that they came tonight and would sing for us. I'd like to ask Dr. Hyles-Anderson, if he would, if you'd come up to the platform. Of course, everyone knows Dr. Anderson is one of Brother Hyles' closest friends, and I've asked him to say a few words on Brother Hyles' behalf tonight.
Thank you very much. At the table tonight, I told a story that I recently read that fits the occasion. An elderly lady was dying, and she called her pastor and made it be known what she wanted at her funeral. She said, I want to be buried in this dress. I want a handkerchief in this hand. And she said, I want a fork in this hand. And when people passes by to view me, they're going to ask what that fork is doing in my hand. And he said, why do you want the fork in your hand? Well, he said, when I was growing up at Mama's table, she always said, keep your fork. There's better things coming. And said, when they pass by, they're going to ask you, why does she have the fork? And I want you to be able to tell them there's better things coming. And here we are tonight after 40 years, and there are better things coming for us, right? Better things in store. And so I had a pair of glasses somewhere or another. And so, up here. Dr. Hyles has had so much influence on my life. He's taught me 3 ways to wear my hair: parted, unparted, or departed. I'm so glad to be here tonight to honor Dr. and Mrs. Hyles. Proverbs 3:27, withhold not good from them to whom it is due, when it is in the power of thine hand to do it. And that's why we're here tonight, is to honor them and thank them for what that they've meant to our lives and the sacrifices they've made. In 1959, at the age of 28, I was saved. A few weeks later, I heard Dr. Jack Hyles in Pontiac, Michigan. And then we began to correspond. And about approximately 1962, we met at Bill Rice Ranch. For 2 or 3 years, I was afraid I'd be beside of him at the ranching place. I'd be afraid to introduce him. He's the meanest man I ever heard preach. Here I was, a new Christian. And then later on, I came to the pastor school. I was a coal miner God had put in business, ex-coal miner from Kentucky. And I worked 6 years in them. I knew very little about business, and then I came to pastor school, took a lot of notes, and went back, and then the rest is history. And for the last 40 years, I've heard practically every sermon he's prepared, read his books, and he's had a great influence on my life. And God has used him to keep me straight in many ways, to where he could bless me financially. I'd like to share a little bit with that tonight. In Matthew 25, it talks about the talents that God gave, 5 talents, 2 talents, and 1 talent to a man. And then Luke 19, it talks about the pounds. He called 10 servants and gave each one of them a pound. And Dr. Hyles, like to impress you, the pound comes from the Greek word mina, M-I-N-A. It means 12.5 ounces of gold. I know a little Greek. I don't know much Hebrew, but I know a lot about homebrew. Being from Kentucky. And so when these servants came back, they reported to the master what that they had earned. And of course, he praised the first 2 of each one of the pounds and the talents. But the last one, in each occasion, he called him a wicked, slothful servant. You know why that God calls him that, I believe, has been a businessman. When God saves us, he invests, he has an investment in us. And he says, occupy till I come in Luke. And that means, I think, to transact business. We're supposed to transact business for Jesus while we're here. And we're going to have to give an answer someday to the Lord for the investment that he's made in us. And we're going to give account. Believe you me, if I put you head of one of my corporations with millions of dollars and furnished you a Cadillac and charge cards, I'd be checking up on you. I'd be coming around about a year later, and I'd say, I want to know how much you made me. If you didn't make me anything, I'd demote you and put you cleaning the toilets. And so, in 2 Corinthians 5:10, we must all appear before the judgment seat of Christ to receive the things done in the body according that we've done, whether it be good or bad. And so, I would like to think what it's going to be like when the man whom we're honoring tonight will be like when he meets Jesus. I think he's going to say to Jackie Boy Hyles, Jesus is going to call him Jackie Boy. We call him Dr. Hyles, but he's going to call him Jackie Boy. And he's going to ask him, what have you done for me? What business have you transacted that I can reward you for? And I think Jackie Boy will bow his head and say, the record speaks for itself. The record speaks for itself. And so since Jesus is keeping a record of what we do, imagine he would get his record out. Well, let's see. I made an investment in you about 60 years ago. I see where you got saved a little over 60 years ago. And so I see when you went to college, you rebuked the liberal professors. You disagreed with them. And Jesus said, I like that. And then I see where you went to a church of about 40 members, maybe 40, and then left there just a few years later with over 4,000. I like that too. You've been doing some transacting. Looks to me like I'm making a pretty good investment. And then you came to First Baptist Church, and after a few months there, a bunch of millionaires approached you and said, well, you know, we have missions for these poor bus kids and these poor families. You got to take them there. And I see where that you told them, you're not for sale, and when the poorest person in town, the poorest child in Hammond, the poorest person was not welcome there, he'd be the first to leave. He swapped his millionaires in for bus children, his millionaires in for pennies, and now he has millions where they don't have pennies. Then I think he would say, also checking your record here, Jackie Boy, I see where that you've had 1 million souls walk your aisle to receive Christ during your ministry. You have really been making some good investments for me. You're really doing something that I can reward you for. I like that. And he said, Jesus said, I'm going to keep reading. It gets better. I see the rest of your record. I see here where that your influence over one boy at Hyles-Anderson College, Rick Martin, has started 271 churches in the Philippines and has seen approximately 600,000 people saved. Oh, what an investment I've made in you, Jackie Boy. Then there's Kevin Wynn, who went to Mexico City about 14, 15 years ago, and I talked to him yesterday. And in the last 5 years, he has seen 350,000 people, approximately, ask Jesus Christ to forgive them of sins and save them, and has started 16 churches. Then I get a hold of Steve Heidenreich, and he said he's in the mountains in the Philippines. I've never been there to his church. I've been to Rick Martin, and he's from the church, and he has started 19 churches and seen approximately 35,000 people saved in the Philippines. Then one of his own, used to be a deacon, Dr. John Vapersan, who is my pastor. He and I have been together since, 26 years. And so he's seen at our church approximately 75 to 100,000. If you add those together, you come to over 1,060,000 souls. That's out of 4. Then I cornered Dr. Bob Gray a while ago, and he's the wildest thing in Texas. And I said, approximately how many converts have you all had in Texas? And he relayed to me that they'd had approximately 300,000 souls. Now, besides that, he's got 1,000, and he keeps reading. Why, Jackie Boy, you got 1,000 preacher boys out preaching the gospel. Would you like to know how many get saved every Sunday from that 1,000 preacher boys? You wouldn't want to know. You can't realize, you can't imagine how many. And then all the missionaries that you have on the field, and how about all the teachers and the staff at First Baptist Church, and all the members, all the lay people, and Hyles-Anderson College? Now, how many millions would you estimate because of this man's dedication, because of his surrender, because of his care, because of his investment that God made in him some 60 years? How many millions would you think that would be in heaven someday? 10 million? I've shown you here million, almost 1.5 million out of 5 of the people that he's influenced. And then I think Jesus would say, Brother Hyles, Jackie boy, you've been faithful over many things, not a few things, and I want to make you ruler over many cities. Not 10 cities, maybe 100 cities. I want to give you a WD degree, a well-done degree. What about that? And about that time, I'm going to step up and I'm going to say, Jesus, may I say a word? What's your name? My name's Russell Anderson. And I was saved in 1959. And he'll look at the record. Yes, I see here where that you were saved in 1959. And, oh, he said, by the way, I arranged for you and Jackie boy to meet in Pontiac, Michigan. I'd give him a brain second to none. He had a smart brain. And I knew I was going to let you make a lot of money. And therefore, I had brains and money together. And so, I would say, Jackie boy has been such, I meant Dr. Hyles, has been such an influence on my life, Jesus. You know what I like to do? I like to serve him when we get to heaven. May I be the one who takes care of his water and carries his water to him. Be the water boy. And he'll say, well, I don't know. Let me think a while. Said, you know, Dr. Hyles, true enough, has had a lot of influence on your life. But has he been actually an asset or a liability to you? I said, why do you ask? Well, in the last 2.5 years, he's influenced you to send $5 million up here to heaven to win souls. Not only that, he's influenced you in the last 1.5 years to build 80 churches on the mission fields throughout the world. Not only that, he's told you to influence you to where that you're building a college, another college in Mexico City. Kevin Wynn, going to seat over 7,500 people. Dormitories, trained missionaries over there. And he said, you know, I think I'd like to do something for you, Russ. I gave Dr. Jackie Boy Hyles all of that wisdom, made him a smart man, genius. I gave him my brains. But one thing I can never understand, he knows the alphabet well, and he knows that A comes before H, and I don't know why he called it Hyles-Anderson College. And he'll say, you know, because you was obedient to the leading of the Holy Spirit of God and tried to make your life count, I want to change the name of that college to Anderson Hyles. Yeah. And then he said, well, I'm also going to grant you your request to where that you can take some water to Jackie Boy. And I can imagine as I take that first pitcher of water and I see this great, huge mansion, and I walk into this mansion and I'll ask the butler, I'll say, where's the dining room? And I'll go in this dining room and I'll see seated Dr. Jack Hyles, Jackie Boy. He'll be seated around this table, and I'll walk up to him and I'll say, Dr. Hyles, here's your water. I want to be your water boy. And I think if I know him, he'll look at me and he'll say, Russ, you've been a friend. Do you remember when David went and got Mephibosheth? Said, you come and sit at my table and eat. Russ, you can't be a water boy. I want you to sit, you're on my board of directors, and here's a vacant seat, and I want you to eat from my table. I'm going to say thank you, Dr. Hyles. I want to thank you. It's an honor. Just as I sat at his table tonight, and I thought how many would like to have the honor of sitting here. I don't take it lightly. I don't take my friendship lightly to him. And Dr. Hyles, I'd like to thank you for caring. I'd like to thank you for all the instructions that you've given me through the years, all the advice. It's been a privilege to be with you. Someone has said, and it describes Dr. Hyles in closing, no one cares how much you know until they know how much you care. And brothers and sisters, I gave you a couple who's cared for us tonight. Let's give them a hand.
Thank you, Brother Anderson. Appreciate that. For another $5 million, he'll change that name right now. In fact, we'll do it without him. And all he's got to do is take another vacation or two, and we're going to really have some things changed around here. And wait till he finds out what we've done. Brother Carl Hatch, would you come to the platform, please? Dr. Carl Hatch has traveled this country for the past many years. I've asked him to come to say a few words on what Dr. Hyles has meant to the country. And, of course, a dear, faithful friend of our church and our pastor and his wife, and he'll say a few words now on his behalf.
Well, what an honor just to be a part of this. I was sitting there at the table with Dr. Tom Neal, and I said, boy, this is what heaven's going to be like, meeting all the friends and so on. And Dr. Neal said, yeah, I'm sorry we're going to miss you. Of all the preachers I know, he's one of them. I want to say to Dr. and Miss Hyles, congratulations on this day. Then tomorrow, his birthday. I don't know how you could really describe. I've traveled this country. I've been in every state, foreign countries. Before I had the wreck, I was working 70 churches a year, 2 churches a week, and more churches than any evangelist. Had more people saved than any evangelist in America. I was averaging 14,000, 16,000 a year. 7,000 to 8,000 a year baptized. Last Sunday morning, I had 200 saved outside of Kansas City. 10 families joined. A fellow was influenced by Dr. Hyles. Runs 300. Last Sunday morning, we had 918. As I said, 200 saved. 10 families joined, 40 some odd baptized. Not a church I've been in the years I've been traveling up and down this country, 46 years preaching. Every church I'm in, and you won't know till you get to heaven. Dr. Hyles won't know. You hear of some of these bigger churches, but there's preachers out here in the country that's running 200, influenced by Dr. Hyles, by pastor school. I'm never in a church. Never. Not one time. somebody comes up and talks about the First Baptist Pastor School, Dr. Hyles. And I believe I would know the influence he's had on our country probably more than anybody other than he himself. And folk, I want to tell you something. You don't really know, and nobody knows until we get to heaven. Because I meet young preachers out here all over the country that was been influenced by him. Meeting after meeting, I was in the meeting here a few weeks ago in Shreveport, and we had, I think, 12, 14 preachers one night. Another night about 12, 14. Every one of them influenced by him. And by his influence on them, it helps me. I'm his friend. And I'm going to stay his friend. I was in the church the other night, and the fellow came up and said, man, you put him about as high as God. I said, he's pretty close. But I wish I could just have the time to share with you the lives of men that you don't ever hear about. You don't ever hear about them. You hear about these guys running 12, 1,400. But here's a guy here in the country, population of the town's 300. And he's running 200. So, I mean, it's a miracle. It's a miracle what God's doing and what he's done with Dr. Jack Hyles. For 35 years that I've known him, and I've been his friend. And you know, I took it lightly when I preached with Dr. Roloff and Dr. Rice and Dr. Bob Jones, the old Dr. Bob. I preached with him in Pontiac, Michigan. And I took it lightly, you know, because I come up with these fellows too. So I never thought anything about it. But now, every moment I'm around Dr. Hyles, I cherish that. I don't bother him. I want to, but I won't. I just want to hang on him and just touch the hem of his garment, you know. I call the church all the time and talk to Miss McKinney and Brother McKinney, and I ask them if they would write a note in big letters and say you're the greatest friend I've ever had. I love you and Miss Hyles, and slip it under his door. And I do that all the time because I know he don't have time to talk to me all the time, and he would if I needed him. But I do that. And I want to say congratulations to both Dr. and Miss Hyles. I want to say this. Behind every great man, there's a great lady. And Miss Hyles, I want you to know that we love you as much as we love him. Because without her, he'd be nothing. And we laugh about it, but I'll guarantee you, my wife, she's not my right arm, she's my right and my left. Amen? If you don't believe that, you lose your wife and see what happens. So we got a lot to owe to this couple. America is much, much better. And the influence that he has. I've stood with him and I told him, I sent him a telegram some years ago. I don't know if he remembers or not. I sent him a telegram. I was in Michigan, the meeting. I said, Doc, I want you to know you've been my friend for over 30 years that time. I want you to know I'm going to stick with you till hell freezes over. And he wrote me a letter and said, I'm indebted to you the rest of my life. He said, you're going to be all right, Doc. I want you to know that I'm your friend. And this may not mean much to you, but I was down for 3 years. And he said, tell Miss Hatch there'll be a check on the way, $3,000. There'll be $1,000 every month until you recover. And on the 15th of every month, there's a $1,000 check to help me. So to me, he's meant so much to me. Spiritually, physically, financially. So I want to say, Dr. Hyles, thank you for being my friend. I love him and appreciate him. And thank you for giving me the honor to be here tonight, to honor this great man and this great lady. And I say again, she's just as great as he is, because without her, he wouldn't be much. Amen. Paul said, I'm what I am by the grace of God. Dr. Hyles says, I'm what I am because of Miss Hyles. And I'll give her permission to say, a woman.
Thank you, Dr. Hatch. This time, Brother Dan Wolf will come and give a tribute to Brother Hyles. And as he comes, let me just make mention to you that the picture frames and everything on the tables are yours as a gift, and we hope that you'll enjoy those. Brother Dan.
I said, let me walk in the fields. He said, no, walk in the town. I said, there are no flowers there. He said, no flowers, but a crown. I said, but the skies are black and there's nothing but noise and din. And he wept as he sent me back. There is more, he said, there is sin. I said, but the air is thick and the fogs are veiling the sun. He answered, yet souls are sick and souls in the dark undone. I said, I will miss the light, and my friends will miss me, they say. He answered, choose tonight, if I am to miss you or they. I pleaded for time to be given. He said, is it hard to decide? It will not seem hard in heaven to have followed the steps of your guide. So I cast one look at the fields and set my face to the town. He said, my child, do you yield? Will you leave your flowers for the crown? Then into my hand, into his hand went mine, and into my heart came he. And I walk in a light divine, the path I had feared to see. The year was 1959.
Alaska and Hawaii are admitted into the Union. Elvis discovered he had a pelvis.
Jack Hyles accepts the call to become pastor of the First Baptist Church in Hammond, Indiana, a church averaging 1,000 in attendance.
As a newspaper reporter, I'd been sent to cover many news stories. Some average stories, some spectacular, some usual, and then some that are unusual. I was sent to the Hilton Hotel on Michigan Avenue about daybreak. On the police radio, we had heard that there had been a man there, and there had been a crowd that gathered about 200 to 400 people. I couldn't see what they were looking at. I tried to get through the crowd. I asked a few people, and they said, he's been laying there for hours. Somebody asked, is he dead? They said, no, he's just lying there, sobbing. I got a little bit closer where I could finally see him. I was totally shocked. I guess I had expected to see a bum, but instead I saw a well-dressed man in his early 30s, lying there, sobbing. Suddenly he stood up, he looked out towards Grant Park, raised his fist in the air, and made a statement that I still don't fully understand. He yelled out, "I'll take the bus, kids!" And with a determined air, calmly walked away.
This event was just the beginning of dozens of new ministries that would be started at First Baptist Church.
1960.
John F. Kennedy is elected President of the United States. The world's population reaches 3 billion. John F. Kennedy would later say this was his greatest accomplishment. John Wayne stars as Davy Crockett in the Alamo.
First Baptist Church votes to leave the American Baptist Convention.
1961.
The Berlin Wall is built. Ray Kroc opens the first McDonald's restaurant. Elvis Presley is drafted into the Army.
First Baptist Church becomes the largest church in Hammond.
1962.
John Glenn completes the first orbit of the Earth and Darrell Whitehouse was born.
Averaging 1,500 in Sunday school, First Baptist Church is declared Indiana's largest church. The deaf ministry is started.
1964.
The Beatles make their first U.S. appearance. U.S. combat is authorized in Vietnam.
First Baptist Church averages 2,100. A new auditorium is built. The first pastor school is held with 300 in attendance. The old auditorium is burned to the ground by an experienced arsonist. The new auditorium, though, is miraculously saved.
1965.
Medicare is started. The sun rose in the east, set in the west, the Pope's a Catholic, and the Cubs lose again.
First Baptist Church has a record attendance of 3,450 people on Pentecost Sunday. The B-Bus ministry is started. The Spanish and Sunbeam ministries begin.
1966.
The Boston Celtics win their 8th championship. The NFL and the AFL merge. Bill Clinton dodges the draft. But he cares, I tell you.
Brother Hyles turns 40. The Pathfinder ministry is started. First Baptist Church is deemed the fastest growing church in the world and becomes the 6th largest church in America. Brother Hyles makes 3 important decisions. Number 1, I will spend the rest of my life as pastor of First Baptist Church. Still going 33 years later. Number 2, I will spend the rest of my life helping preachers. Over 8 million miles traveled preaching to them. Number 3, I will write books. Over 40 so far.
1969.
Neil Armstrong lands on the moon. U.S. troops begin to withdraw from Vietnam due to Nixon's Vietnamization policy.
Feeding of the 5,000 Sunday sees 5,200 people attending First Baptist Church, where McDonald's Filet-O-Fish sandwiches are served to all. First Baptist Church teen soul winning is started.
1943.
I couldn't believe I was seeing this. It was New Year's Day, and I was on the corner of Ackerd and Commerce in downtown Dallas when I saw a young teenage boy walking down the street. He was a sharp-looking fellow, but he had a concerned look on his face. In a moment, I found out why. For you see, a large man who looked a bit disheveled, standing in front of the liquor store, stopped him and greeted him. They chatted for a while, and then suddenly I saw the man push the boy up against the wall. He pushed him again, and his head snapped against the wall. I thought he was unconscious. Then he came to as the large man shouted profanities at him. He cursed and screamed. I shall never forget the scene. He then let him drop to the ground and swore at him again. He said he was his son. How could a father treat his son that way? What possibly could this boy have done to deserve such treatment? As the boy lay on the ground in obvious pain, his father kicked him in the ribs. He cursed him again and then turned and began to walk away. I was relieved. Then he stopped, halfway in the street, cursed him again and came back and kicked him again. Oh, he had to be drunk. He walked away, turned back, came back, cursed him again and kicked him again, and then left. The boy was lying on the street, hardly able to move, barely conscious. The man put his hands on his hips and in a thunderous voice yelled, "Well, if you are going to be one of those dirty," he swore again, "one of those dirty preachers, why don't you go out and build the biggest church in the world?"
1970.
First Baptist Church is declared the world's largest Sunday school and the first church to have over 10,000 in attendance by having 11,300 on I Was There Sunday. Hammond Baptist High School is started.
1972.
Richard Nixon is elected President of the United States of America.
The C Bus Ministry is started. Hyles-Anderson College is started with 305 students enrolled.
An old man going a lone highway came at the evening, cold and gray, to a chasm vast, wide, and steep, with waters rolling cold and deep. The old man crossed in twilight dim, the sullen stream had no fears for him. But he turned when safe on the other side and built a bridge to span the tide. Old man, said a fellow pilgrim near, you're wasting your strength with building here. Your journey will end with the ending day. You never again will pass this way. You've crossed the chasm deep and wide. Why build you a bridge at eventide? The builder lifted his old gray head. Good friend, in the path that I have come, he said, there followeth after me today a youth whose feet must pass this way. The chasm that was as naught to me, to that fair-haired youth may a pitfall be. He too must cross in the twilight dim. Good friend, I'm building this bridge for him. 1976.
The USA celebrates its bicentennial.
Brother Hyles doesn't let the threat of death stop him from entering the pulpit on July 4th. The Fisherman's Club has started. Brother Hyles tears down the wrong building.
(1978)
Muhammad Ali is declared the world champion for the third time. Elvis is seen at a 7-Eleven food mart.
Sunday schools are held all over the Chicagoland area. 176,000 people attend on one Sunday.
1986.
The Chicago Bears win the Super Bowl. The Iran-Contra scandal is uncovered.
The church is taken to court over allegedly giving baby chicks out to bus riders. When asked to defend his actions, Brother Hyles implicates himself further by admitting to eating one of the chicks' mothers for lunch.
1987.
Henry Ford dies. The INF Treaty is signed.
First Baptist Church celebrates its 100th anniversary. Brother Hyles celebrates his 28th year as pastor. A big day goal of having as many in Sunday school as were residents in the city of Hammond is exceeded.
Hammond population is 68,000.
Big day attendance, 125,800.
1988.
Oprah Winfrey gets on a diet.
Brother Hyles is diagnosed with total global amnesia. Because of these memory lapses, he considers retiring.
1989.
The Berlin Wall falls. Ronald Reagan is asked how he feels. Well, I don't know. Pete Rose is banned from baseball.
A time for friends to stand up and be counted. And stand up they do. At youth conference, after Brother Hyles finishes preaching, 800 young people surrender to full-time service.
1990.
Germany is reunited.
Pentecost Sunday sees 5,213 people saved.
1991.
In a sermon, Brother Hyles announces that he has selected his replacement. He says, and I quote, Jack Hyles is going to replace Jack Hyles. Pentecost Sunday sees 3,309 people saved.
1992.
Pentecost Sunday sees 4,994 people saved.
1994.
The World Series is canceled due to a strike among Major League Baseball players.
First Baptist Church surpasses 10,000 baptisms in a single year with 10,553.
1995.
A street in Hammond, Indiana is named after Brother Hyles.
First Baptist Church averages 20,000 in Sunday school.
1998.
First Baptist Church is the second largest property holder in Northwest Indiana.
And all of this property is debt-free. On Jubilee Sunday, over 5,112 people are saved and baptized in one day on our church property. Over 15,000 people baptized for the year.
1999.
The most famous statement ever heard was, "I did not." But nothing was more notable than Dr. Hyles celebrating his 40th anniversary at First Baptist Church.
Dr. Jack Hyles celebrates his 40th anniversary as pastor of the First Baptist Church. A large picture of Dr. and Mrs. Hyles is painted on the side of the Walker Building. A banquet is held in honor of Dr. and Mrs. Jack Hyles to show appreciation for their faithful, loving service to our Savior and our church for these 40 years.
When a young man leaves home, family, and friends for the first time in order to prepare to serve his country, in time of war, we consider that man a hero. Brother Hyles has left home, family, and loved ones time and time again in order to serve his country through his preaching. He is our hero. When a young soldier goes to a strange land, not because of personal desire, but because it is where the officials from military headquarters have sent him, we consider that man a hero. Brother Hyles travels almost weekly to many strange lands, not choosing locations because of personal desire, but because it is where headquarters has sent him. He is our hero. When a young soldier prepares and fights valiantly in spite of great loneliness and danger, we consider that man a hero. Brother Hyles has fought valiantly in the trenches of the ministry. Though this has been a lonely life and a life of great persecution, he is our hero. When a young soldier volunteers or even re-enlists in time of battle, in spite of the fact that his country no longer expects it of him, we consider that man a hero. Brother Hyles volunteered for a task that he saw as necessary, and he has re-enlisted time and time again. He is our hero. Brother Hyles has sometimes been misunderstood. Some have said America's in fine shape. We don't need any doomsday prophets to scare us into having standards. Yet, Brother Hyles carries on with dignity and courage. He is our hero. When a young soldier becomes an old soldier, yet stays in the battle, because the cause is still alive, we consider him a hero. Brother Hyles has stayed in the battle to save America. Though most his age have taken permanent leave of absence, he is our hero. When an old soldier becomes a wounded and a weary soldier, yet limps along when few say he is no longer even qualified, we consider him a hero. Brother Hyles has been wounded and has been a weary soldier. When wounded, he has limped along until his walk became straight again. Some have been skeptical of his qualifications, yet the cause and the need still exist, so he's continued to fight. He is our hero. When a soldier has given his life to serve his country, he receives great honor. People applaud him. He becomes decorated and bears a special title. No one questions, why do we honor such a man? Does he think he is God? We know he has earned the right to be a hero. Brother Hyles has given his life to serve his country. And thankfully, from some, he has received some well-deserved honor. Why do we honor such a man? Because we think he is God? No. It is because we recognize what it takes for a man to earn the right to be a hero. When a man bleeds on the battlefield until the last of earthly life has been given away, we call him a patriot and say we will never forget him. We take the time to recognize that without his sacrifice, we would not be here, whether he's perfect or imperfect. We call him a hero, though we may not know anything else about him. He gave his life. That is enough. Brother Hyles has not died for our country. Rather, he has lived for it. But he has given all of his strength on the spiritual battlefield in order to make our country a better place for his children, for the next generation. Who is the greatest patriot? Is it the man who sacrificed by dying for his country, or the man who sacrifices every day by living for it? I do not know. I only know that the sacrifice of the latter seems to be more misunderstood. I do not know who is the greatest patriot or who is the greatest hero, but I do know that Brother Hyles is both.
A Texan man of 33 rode into town one day, but not with beaming confidence, just homesick fears, he'd say. 1959 was the notable year. Brother Jack came to this here town with wife and family dear. This was a strange and foggy town, quite a different place. Yet tall he rode in saddle there, decked in blue denim and lace. He was and is a God-called man with a heart of purest gold. He spent now over 40 years reaching multitudes untold. To recount the years and details of victories and growth of this peerless leader and friend, we like to call him both. Could not be done without taking more time than we're allowed, but would meet with the approval of this dear faithful crowd. Our church has grown and grown and grown to largest in the world, because around the blessed book our preacher's hand has curled. So with the Bible in his hand and compassion in his heart, he's pastored and cared for us all, and we're glad we've been a part of Bible schools and ministries, programs spring and fall, of buses, clubs, and little leagues, but really most of all, of him who has given oh so much and has loved us oh so true. We wish tonight with all our hearts that we could give him his due. With tenderness he's married our young and likewise buried our dead. When we weren't what we ought to be, he didn't just hang his head, but was to us patient and kind, and he helped us get along. We each feel very important, not just one of the throng. So tonight we're here to honor our pastor, our hero, our friend, a man we love so completely, with a love that ne'er shall end.
Brother Hyles, you spent your life giving, and testimony tonight from these men of God, from the program you just saw, bears witness the fact that you've not lived your life selfishly. You spent your life giving your time, your effort, your money, your personal belongings, and tonight it's our turn to give back to you. Brother Jack Scott has a presentation he'd like to make at this time. I'd like to ask you and Mrs. Hyles, if you would, to come to this top platform right now. Brother Scott, if you would.
"28 of these 40 years have included the history of Hyles-Anderson College. And I want to thank Preacher Mrs. Hyles for those 28 years, especially most of us here tonight in some way or another have been touched by the college or had a part of it. Born in an all-night prayer meeting along a freeway outside Los Angeles, California, was the conception, the idea of Hyles-Anderson College. And then with our dear brother Dr. Anderson here, the first $300,000 from him was given to make our college possible. And of course, I'd like to think that somehow our country is free tonight because of the last 28 years. I think we have the privilege of sitting here tonight because of the last 28 years. I'd like to have all of the Hyles-Anderson College graduates, first of all, to stand, if you would, please. Right there, what a tribute just to the last 28 of the 40 years. Unbelievable. I would love to mention everybody's name and have you come up, and you deserve the opportunity. Many of you have spent hundreds and even thousands of dollars to be here tonight. Thank you from the bottom of our heart for coming to show your love just by being here. You might get a handshake tonight or a picture, but you said what you wanted to say by being here. I did want to mention two former administrators who are here also. Dr. Max Helton is here tonight. Dr. Helton, where are you? Would you please raise your hand? Thank you, Dr. Max Helton. And Dr. Jim Jorgensen also. Dr. Jorgensen, thank you so much. We have some other former teachers and staff members here, but these are two former administrators, both vice presidents in the last 28-year history of our college. And thank you, men, for the investment you made in the college in those days. I'd like also all the people who are presently attending Hyles-Anderson College, all the students who are here tonight who are attending Hyles-Anderson College, would you stand tonight? As well as those who have attended at some time, would you please stand tonight? We want to do something special. 1959 was a great year, not just for First Baptist Church of Hammond, but for other things as well. In 1959, an unusual vehicle was produced. When the Hyleses came to town, they had a 1958 Oldsmobile, and they couldn't afford that on the pay they were receiving from First Baptist Church. So they sold that and bought a cheaper vehicle, an older model Buick Special. And they drove that for some time. Several months ago, Brother Hyles was with one of the church staff men and taking a little business trip with him, and a beautiful car was seen by them, and Brother Hyles said, you know, years ago, I would love to have had one of those. Well, you don't just say that around here without our trying to do everything we can to get it. It's not a gift that probably is going to be as practical as something, but you have every practical gift you could use, and he's hard to buy something for, as we all know. But we searched and found something we think you would love, Brother Hyles, very much, and we'd love to give it to you. 1959, when the top 25 collector's cars of all time was built, it's a 1959 convertible Thunderbird. And we have found one. It has only 17,000 original miles on it. It has original paint on it, factory air conditioning, 300 horsepower, leather interior. It works, factory air conditioning. It is right there, preacher, and we'd like to present that to you tonight as a gift of our love for you.
We didn't push it in here because it wouldn't start. Actually, you do have to buy the engine, but we did get the car, and we think that's a fitting car for the Hyles and the babe to ride in. And you may be seated if you would. So Johnny Colson has a presentation to make. Dr. Colson, if you would come to the platform at this time.
Many of you were at the service when we, as a church, voted on these articles. And wasn't it fun conducting a business meeting without preacher? I'll tell you what, that was a high hour. And you voted with a resounding aye that these articles be carried forth. Voted on, first of all, by the deacon board, and then approved and voted on by the church membership. Dr. and Mrs. Jack Hyles, the members and deacon board of the First Baptist Church of Hammond, Indiana, have voted to give the following to you, the senior pastor and wife, who have served this church over 40 years. All current salary, benefits, and insurance for the rest of your lives. Any raises or increase in benefits that the pastoral staff should receive in the future. We want you to know that we are indebted to you for the many years of service and dedication. Thank you. We love you. And of course, Elaine and I are so fortunate and privileged to know the friendship and the love of these dear people. And thank you all for coming. This is surely a wonderful crowd, and I'm just so thrilled. Thanks, John. Brother Hyles.
Our church, Brother Hyles, has been led by you to win thousands of souls to Christ. We've heard you preach over 6,000 sermons in these past 40 years. You've conducted over 2,000 or almost 2,000 weddings, hundreds of funerals. You've taken our church property value from $750,000 to over $70 million. Started with 4 buildings when you arrived in Hammond. We built or purchased 90, torn down 1 accidentally. You've given us an awful lot, and this is your anniversary. When we've reached a milestone as a staff member, we received an anniversary watch, and the 40th anniversary is that of a ruby. So we have something for you. We'd like to have you open that this time. Other side. It's not a ruby that you would wear. It's actually a ruby. No, it's actually a ruby you'll be riding in. If you look over to your right, we have a 1909 ruby red Lincoln Continental Town Car for the both of you. You may be seated. Someone tell Bill Shutt to sit down. Wait, not yet. There's plenty of time for kissing later. But we know we've created quite a problem for you. You've just moved into a condominium. You now have 4 cars and only 2 parking spaces. Good luck. And last Brother Boardway, if he'd come to the platform, we have the best gift of all to give him.
Preachers, of course, as you know, we all love you, especially my family. Well, we just don't have the words to express it. But again, we got behind your back. That'll show you shouldn't take a vacation. And we have behind you something for you.
For the Hyles Church. You can try to cash it if you'd like. And we have a check for you for $150,000 to be used for your retirement, to be invested however you see fit. And we want you to know that you've taken care of us for all these years, and we're going to take care of you for the rest of years, and we love you. Let's give him a hand. Brother Hyles, Dave and may be seated, please. Dave and Tina have a song we've written for you at this time.
You came to us so many years ago. You gave us your life, but little did we know how much we would need you and your loving care, your wisdom and your hours spent in prayer. You've touched our lives. You taught us grace. You've shown us strength in all we've had to face.
You've led us to Jesus, his power from above.
You've touched our lives and shown us heaven's love.
As we look back to all the ways you've cared, we've no regrets for all the years we've shared. We needed you then, and we still need you now. We love you and we long to show you how.
You've touched our lives. You taught us grace. You've shown us strength in all we've had to face.
You've led us to Jesus, his power from above.
You've touched our lives and shown us heaven's love. You've touched our lives. You've touched our lives.
You taught us
You taught us grace. You've shown us strength in all we've had to face. You've led us to Jesus, his power from above. You've touched our lives and shown us heaven's love. You've touched us with your love.
Thank you, and you've touched us in so many different ways, and we appreciate that. I guess now it's time to hear a word from the boss in the South, Brother Hyles.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you. Of course, I'm overwhelmed. But I say this with all sincerity. I think you're honoring the wrong person tonight. You should honor this little lady here. She's the greatest Christian I know. If I could only be on one person's prayer list in the world, I'd choose her over every preacher I know, any Christian I know, and you should honor her. You're honoring the wrong person tonight. You should have honored with this magnitude that little crowd of people that stood a while ago who were young married couples who became, who now hair has turned gray, shoulders are drooped, we walk with unsteady steps. Some of the greatest people that ever lived stood a while ago. I wish every one of you could stand where I stand, for you deserve it. You're honoring the wrong person tonight. You should be honoring the custodians of First Baptist Church of Hammond. The men who work while you're asleep, clean up while you're resting. Some of the real heroes. You should have honored tonight the nursery workers, those dear ladies that take care of our kids and make it possible for us to have our services. You should have honored tonight the school teachers who in a lifetime, many of them won't make this much money, who work and toil for less than minimum wage to educate our young. I salute you tonight, and I feel very, very guilty. You're the ones who should be honored. You're honoring the wrong person tonight. You should be honoring the bus workers. We'll go home tonight and get just a few hours sleep and be up tomorrow morning bright and early out making their calls. The Bible club workers, the jail ministry workers, those who work with the educable slow, so patiently they work. Those are the people that deserve the honor tonight. You're honoring the wrong person tonight. You should be honoring our deacons, these good men who stood with me for all these years. They've stood with me through battles unbelievable, through nights so dark none of us could see, through clouds so thick that none of us could even see our hands in front of us, and certainly we couldn't see the way. We just kept on going by faith. We should be honoring those men, some who are here and others in heaven who stood with me these years. We should be honoring tonight, instead of me, the security guards. These men who work for almost nothing to see to it that I'm kept safe. One of them saved my life on one occasion when I was about to be killed. And we should be honoring them. Or the Sunday school teachers, over 800 of them in First Baptist Church of Hammond. We should be honoring them tonight who have built our Sunday school. You're honoring the wrong preacher tonight. You should be honoring these men who pastor in difficult places out in the country, little towns, who have kept on going. They don't have millions of people within a few miles. They don't have a building that seats 7,000 people. They just struggle in a difficult place. And many are here tonight. I feel so guilty. You're the ones that ought to be honored. You're honoring the wrong person tonight. You should be honoring the missionaries. Those 300 Hyles-Anderson graduates on mission fields. Many of them tonight are sick. Many of them live in houses where lizards and snakes crawl across the floor. That's the people that deserve the honor tonight. You're honoring the wrong person tonight. You should be honoring the pastors' wives across America. Or the college students in Hyles-Anderson College who are struggling to get through. Or the wives of those college students who are almost widows for 4 years or more. Keep on going. You're honoring the wrong people tonight. You should be honoring the steel mill workers who work in a blast furnace all week. You should be honoring the factory workers and those who labor and toil in jobs that are hard and difficult and come to church on Sunday and give their tithes and offerings and serve God and pray for their preacher. You should be honoring tonight the ladies who have to work. Ladies who clean houses for a few dollars an hour so they can pay the tuition for their kids in school. If there's one little person tonight or one person anywhere in this room that feels that we have been too much or too highly honored, I join with you, for I agree with you. I'm humbled, I'm thrilled, but I feel there's so many others, and I mean this. But let me tell you why you did it. I think I know enough about people. You love our church. Those of you members of our church, you love our church. And there's in some way you want to express that love. And you have to do it some way. So you choose the fellow who's up in front of the people and you honor him. But you're not saying tonight we love you, preacher. We're saying we love you, First Baptist Church. And we love you, Jesus. I'm simply a symbol. I'm a representative of what you love. I thought a while ago, I dreaded 1989. I was waiting till they got there. 1989. I leaned over to Miss Hyles, and when they skipped from 88 to 90, I said, I'm so glad they did that. But I've got to go back there. To the people in this room, I owe you my life. I owe you my ministry. I owe you everything that has kept me going for the last 10 years. You trusted me. Many of you trusted me 39, 40 years ago when we faced the first big battle. And all of you trusted me 10 years ago. I'm grateful. I say it again. I agree with anybody here who think this has been overdone. I would like to say, however, so you can make your plans, we do plan to go on vacation again next August.
May I just say, Tina and Dave certainly put it the way I think I can. You've touched our lives. It's been so wonderful to see you people from the past who have come back, who were in our church, and those pastors from and their wives from over the country. We appreciate so much what you mean to us. But our own precious First Baptist Church people, you are so, you'll never know how precious you are to us. We love you, and there's no way to express our thanks for what you've done. Yes, you did honor the right person. I live with him. I know. And I know what he gives. I know that he has literally given years off his life for not just the world, but for this church. He loves you so much. And he grieves that he can give you what you need each Sunday. He's not as young as he used to be. He gets tired. I see it. You don't. But you've honored the right person, and I thank you for it. I know you've honored me, too, along with it, and I thank you. But I'm so glad that you've honored Brother Hyles tonight. He certainly deserves it.
Remain standing if you would, please. Brother Hyles, I believe I can speak for the present staff of First Baptist Church and your pastor friends from around the country. We will not let you be forgotten. We believe that you'll we believe that you'll pastor us for many years to come, but if you decide to retire, we'll not retire you in our hearts, and you will forever be honored. And we make that a promise tonight. And that's what this gift is about. That's what these cards are about. That's what our presence is about tonight. You've given us an awful lot, and we're going to spend the rest of your life giving back to you. And then our children and grandchildren will live on with the teachings and sermons and soul winning that you have preached and taught us. Come to the platform. If you look on your tables, there's a little card with a song that I thought most befit this service. Blessed be the tie that binds. Brother Terry, if you just lead us in all three verses. Brother Hyles, the second verse, we'll ask our ushers if they would to come and escort you and Mrs. Hyles to the automobiles. Afterwards, the visiting staff members and the present staff members, or the assistant pastors, if you would meet us there for some pictures. Brother Max Helton, Brother Jorgensen, if you would also please be there. Brother Terry, would you please lead us? Everyone join in singing, please.
All right, sing with me. Blessed be the tie that binds our hearts in Christian love, the fellowship of kindred mind is like to above before our Father's throne we pour our ardent prayer, our fears, our hopes, our aims are one, our comforts and our care. When we asunder part, it gives us word pain, but we shall still be joined in heart and hope to meet again.
The assistant pastors would make their way over to the automobiles at this time. We'd like to thank you for coming tonight. We appreciate all your work to be here. God bless you, and you're dismissed.